Guys, this is Jeannie from the library. As you know, we're doing some of our digital outreach. So one of the things we thought we would show you is how I grow my microgreens in my house. Which is really great about microgreens is they don't require almost any sunlight. So if you don't have a garden or a patio to grow vegetables on, you can actually grow these on a shelf in your house in the dark, which is where I grow mine. And then the only thing is maybe the last day, put them somewhere where there's some sun so that they'll green up. There are two types of microgreens that are really popular. One of them is speckled peas and the other are sunflower seeds. So I buy my sunflower seeds and my peas in bulk. I buy them from a company called Mung's up in Canada. They just have a really good price for their seeds when you buy them in bulk. Now the thing about peas and sunflower seeds is that you have to soak them overnight. So these guys soaked overnight, and as you can tell, maybe, this is what it looks like dry, and then one of these is what it looks like when it's rehydrated. So there's a huge difference. So you want to put these in a jar, put some water in them, leave them overnight. One thing I like to do is put one tiny little squirt of hydrogen peroxide in here. That will kill any fungus or mold that might be on your seeds, because if you put them in there without doing it, you can get mold. So it's really easy. All you have to do is after you soak them, you just dump out the water. And put them in your tray. And then just spread them out as evenly as possible. So I actually used 2 cups. This is a 10 by 20 tray. So I used 2 cups of peas and 2 cups of the sunflower seeds for this size tray. So you want to give them a little tiny squish down into the dirt. And by the way, I've already put water in this dirt, so it's nice and moist already. You spread them out. And then if we can find your water, just give them a little bit more. There you go. And then one thing I like to do is grab just a tiny bit of extra soil and just sort of sprinkle it on top, just a tiny little bit. That'll kind of help it retain its moisture. And when I show this to people for the first time, they always think it's really weird. But for the first few days, I like to actually stack my trays up. So what I'm actually going to do with this is the tray that I'm growing my sunflowers in, I'm actually going to leave it just like this. What that does is it forces your microgreens to grow bigger because they have to pull this up out of its way. After a few days, when you can see the bottom of this tray, I will take it off and then just let them grow. So all microgreens, you can put some weight on top of it and they're fine. So same thing with my sunflowers. Now sunflowers are a bit tricky because they float on top. So you like to get a container that's very narrow. That'll allow all the seeds that are in the bottom to get soaked. Same thing, just pour out your water. And then just sprinkle them into the dirt. So peas and microgreen sunflower seeds are really tasty. The sunflower plant literally tastes like a sunflower seed. So it has a nutty flavor that you can add to your salads or to a side dish. Okay. And these will actually be ready in about 10 days. When I am done with them, I will shoot another video and show you what they look like. So every day, what I will do is I have a mister, and I left it up on my porch, but I have a mister of water. Just spray it down every day. Just lift up this tray, spray that down, put your tray back on. Ooh, bee. And then put your sunflowers back on top of it and just let them sit like this for a few days, but just make sure that they stay moist. You don't want them to dry out. So for the sunflowers again, I'm just going to cover them with just a tiny little bit. This covering is optional, you don't really need it, but I think it helps retain the moisture. Alright, grab this and just give them a little bit of water. So, sunflower seeds and the speckled peas are the two most popular microgreens, just because they're really easy to grow, they grow really big, and they have a really good flavor. Another thing that I like to grow is lettuce. Now, lettuce, beets, what was the other one I got? Broccoli. So broccoli, lettuce, and beets. I actually like to do what's called bottom watering. What you do is you have a tray underneath that has some stones and some water. There are holes in the bottom of this tray, and what it'll do is it'll soak up the water from the bottom. The reason I do this is because broccoli, the lettuce, and the beets are so delicate that just the weight of watering them will make them go flat. So what I do is I take one of my trays and I put some stones in the bottom. Then I take another tray and I cut holes into it, put that in there, put on my dirt, and when I want to water, I lift it up and put the water right in here and then just set it back down. Now I can tell that this tray doesn't have enough soil, so I'm going to put some more on. You only need about an inch of soil in each one of these trays. Now if you compost like I do, when you harvest these basically, you can take the entire tray, dump the whole thing into your compost, and that actually helps speed up your composting of your yard debris, just because you've already got some good bacteria in this soil. So what I'm going to do, I buy all of my sprouts and all my microgreens in bulk. This is from a company, a USA company. It's a Mountain Valley Seed Company, and they sell you the seeds. So as you can tell, lettuce seeds are super tiny, and I don't normally measure how many I put in here. I just kind of eyeball it, and I'm just spreading them around. All right. So I would say that was maybe a quarter cup, maybe less actually. Okay, so when I am done with this, I'm just going to get this nice and moist. So I'm going to find my water, and I'm just going to get it wet. But after this, you'll just water it from the bottom up. And same thing like I did with the peas and the sunflower seeds, is that when I get my other two containers planted, I'm literally going to stack them all. And they're just all going to go into my house. I have a special shelf that I keep in my dining room, and it has a black cloth. And so I just put the trays on there, put the black cloth down. What growing these in the dark does is it forces the plant to search for sunlight. So they're going to grow up really tall. And that's what keeping them in the dark does. Also, the day before you cut them and eat them, I suggest putting them in the sunlight for a little bit. These will be really pale when they're out of the sunlight, but you put them in the sunlight for less than a day, they're going to get nice and green and pretty. Okay. So, same thing with my broccoli and my beets. I've got my tray with those stones in the bottom, and I might run out of water. Yep, I'm almost out of water. That's okay. I can get more. So you fill the tray up until the water is just above the stones. You take a tray with soil that has holes already pre-cut, and you just put it in there. So same thing with the lettuce, I'm going to do with the broccoli. If I can find it. So here's my broccoli. And broccoli is also a very small seed. So I don't really measure them out. I'm just going to put them all in here. I'm going to water it all down. And then I'm just going to stack them. So this guy here is going to get stacked right on top of my sunflower seeds. Now if you think, oh my gosh, that's too heavy, trust me, I have seen people literally put dumbbell weights on top of these and it will literally lift them up. So don't worry about overweighing these down. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I just want to make sure that my seeds are nice and evenly spread out. Okay. And there is that. So next time you see me will probably be in about 10 or so days. These will be all ready to go. And I'll even give you a recipe for my favorite dressing to use on these microgreens. All right. Okay guys, happy gardening.